I made a spooky fighting game roster using the Tik Tok algorithm. Here's how I did it, and here's who got added. For those that are living under a rock, TikTok is one of the biggest apps in the world, and part of its success is its algorithm. Its algorithm is far too complex to explain here, but to put it simple, it's extraordinarily good at keeping you on the app. It filters the best content to you for you. For about 2 years now, I've been making exclusive fighting game content over on TikTok. Shameless plug, please go follow me. During this time, I've been able to grow and have gained followers from all over this TikTok algorithm. I saw this opportunity pull from those different walks of life and create a fun and seasonal, hence spooky fighting game roster. The rules were rather simple. You could vote for anyone that was spooky or spooky adjacent. Now, what does spooky adjacent mean? Well, here's my rules for it. It needs to be something that is related to Halloween, a monster or creatures, or something that can be scary. So of course you can add in the classics and the horror icons, but I wanted people to be able to vote for some fun picks as well. Sabrina the Teenage Witch, the cartoon, would be eligible since it's related to something scary, even though it isn't. And when it comes to monsters, monsters are all over the place. Elmo from Sesame Street is a monster, and so is Arthas the Lich King from World of Warcraft. I mean, there's a lot of leeway here. I also decided to kick off the roster by adding 2 additions, and that is Michael Myers from Halloween and the Frankenstein's monster from Frankenstein. I feel both these characters are poster boys of their era, and they just made sense. I never mentioned to any of the people in the videos while I was doing this what type of fighting game this was going to be, but it clearly was going to be a 2D inspired fighting game in the same vein of Street Fighter, or more specifically Mortal Kombat, for the obvious reasons. I'm gonna be honest, the hardest part of this whole entire process was keeping track of the votes. The way you could vote could be done in a couple different ways. The easiest way was simply just commenting on one of the videos I made throughout the month. This is the majority of the votes, of course. The next were through stitches, duets, and answers, which are functions on TikTok which allow you to respond through a video. By the way, no one knew this at the time, but anyone who did it this way, their votes counted twice. To keep track of these votes, I actually used a state-of-the-art program called Microsoft Excel. Yeah, I put a lot of effort into this one. And it definitely got the job done. I would tally all the votes every couple days and upload the new winner. And after 2/3 of the month, the roster was done. And to cap it all off, I actually had this big live stream where I got everyone together that voted over the month, and we decided how the characters would play. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention, I created a vague plot to this fighting game. The character passes out in their world and wakes up in a candy store. In the candy store, there is a chalkboard that says, "If you win, your wish will be granted." Next to the chalkboard is a table full of candy organized in a bracket. You kind of see where I'm going here. If you get through your opponents, you get to face the final boss. The final boss I decided to call was The Fright, with a PH, making it all menacing. A dark, shape-shifting ooze that changes forms into silhouettes of famous horror movie directors. And they use the same moves as their creations. The boss is super busted and will make you rage quit. And if you win, you get a small cutscene of the character getting its wish granted. First 2 characters that I mentioned were all my ideas, and here's what I had for him. Michael Myers is a beginner-friendly character, a Shadow-esque based character, no crazy tricks or big gimmicks, just a well-rounded character. His house would clearly be his stage for the character. I would say the front of his house would make sense, but I would not say no to the downstairs as well. Michael's end, his super move, is where the lights go dark and you see him coming in and out of light towards the opponent. The camera pans towards the opponent, the lights flicker again, Michael is now standing behind them. The lights flicker once again, the opponent is now on the floor with Michael standing over them. Michael's ending is going to be very fan fiction here, which you'll kind of notice a trend with the rest of the picks as well. Michael's wish is very simple. A wish where he can relive the night of Halloween on repeat. So every time it hits 12 o'clock midnight, it just restarts at 7 p.m. earlier that night. The Halloween never ending. For the Frankenstein monster, I decided to make him a big juggernaut-esque creature, where he has tons of super armor, a lot of big buttons, heavy damage, and really good defense, but he's slow as molasses. His stage would obviously be Frankenstein's castle, and Igor will be putzing around playing with lovers in the background. For his super move, it may be corny, but I've always seen the monster as a misunderstood, someone just who wanted a friend. So with that being said, his super move is him just giving someone a big bear hug and realizing he's hugging too hard. And for his ending, it's something that I think is very touching. He's simply walking through a village with a bunch of villagers not scared of him. That's what he wants. He just wants to be welcome and accepted, and I want him to have that. First character that actually got added into the spooky fighting game was Jack Skellington from The Nightmare Before Christmas. Pretty much everyone was in agreement that he was going to be a mid/long range character. With his lankiness, he would be able to hit people from a mid distance, and he also has a plethora of different items he can throw using traps and setups. His stage would be around the holiday trees at the beginning of the movie, where you would pop in and out between the different towns, which is very fun and creative because of, the wildness of the Tim Burton films. His super move would be called the Pumpkin King, where he simply would be on his crescent hill, slowly walking up, holding someone, and then dropping him off that hill, which is fun, creative, and a little bit silly. His ending is simple. He becomes Santa Claus, and he does it in a way where it's actually like Santa Claus and not Halloween-based Santa Claus. Very fun, creative, and he didn't have to capture the original Santa to do it. Next up, we have Courage the Cowardly Dog, which is extremely exciting that he got added into this list. It was pretty much unanimous with everyone that we were going to have him a keep-away character and a zoner, similar to Peacock from Skullgirls, where he just throws everything in the kitchen sink, literally, to keep the opponent at bay. His stage would be the house in the middle of nowhere with Eustace and Muriel in the background. Every now and then you also see cats kind of sneaking by. His super move would be called Things I Do for Love, which is just him doing something outrageous to save Muriel and usually putting Eustace in the fray. And his ending is simple. He finally kept Muriel 100% safe. He no longer has to worry about being scared ever again and never has to worry about Muriel being in danger. He succeeded. Muriel is always safe. Next up is Bram Stoker's Dracula. We decided to make him a low health grappler. However, every time he grapples someone, he actually gains health back. A very fun and creative way to make a new grappler. His stage clearly would be Dracula's castle, and really nothing else to say there. His super move would be the True Dracula. Very simple, where he just turns into his monstrous Dracula's form and just, goes bat wild on you, pun intended. His ending is he never becomes the Dracula. He never gets the curse. He just actually lives a normal life and dies when he's supposed to. Never going through the years of being this old, decrepit old man. Because of the popularity of Hocus Pocus 2, the Sanderson sisters were a must. They are going to be a stance-like character where each character has a different property. All three sisters can do something a little bit different, but it's very combo-oriented where they can switch in between to make the combos last almost indefinitely. Their stage is definitely going to be the graveyard, where everyone's favorite zombie will pop out. Their super move would be them breaking out into song and dance and hexing the opponent, putting a spell on you. And lastly, they just wake up being young again, never getting old again. That's their whole goal of staying young, and guess what? They're getting it. For Jason Voorhees, we're going to do something very similar to classic fighting games here, where he is essentially the Akuma to Michael Myers. He's a heavier hitting character. However, we are going to make him just a little bit slower. His stage will be the Camp Crystal Lake, and his super move is essentially the Raging Demon, but with slashing and Jason Voorhees text all over it. And his arcade ending is actually a good note, where he just is born not deformed. He never goes to camp, and he actually lives a peaceful an enjoyable life. He never gets drowned, and he just enjoys everything. Next up, we have Chucky. We're going to make him a rushdown character. Very easy, he's very quick, and he's also going to be in the same vein similar to Yoda from Soul Calibur, where you can't actually grab him. His stage would be the classic kids room from the first movie, and his super move would be called Child's Play, where he just summons his soul into other dolls, and they all attack the opponent. And for his ending, he just has control of his curse now. No one can stop him. He can transport his consciousness into any other doll, and no one can stop him. That is his wish. He wants to be a killer as a doll forever. Next up, we have Pinhead from Hellraiser. Definitely going to be a zoner through and through. He's going to use his chains to bind and hurt people. He's also going to use his Cenobites to do some really crazy stuff. His stage would be the Labyrinth, and his super move would be called Don't Waste Good Suffering, which he hangs someone up by his chains, and the Cenobites come in to deal some heavy damage. His arcane ending would be that he succeeds. He brings hell to Earth, and he's ruling over everyone. We have the King of Nightmares, Freddy Krueger. He's going to be a rushdown slasher character, but he's also going to have a couple command grabs and this really cool blood whirlpool where he just messes with people. His stage will be the Boiler Room, and his super move will be called Freddy's Coming From You, where he literally is dragging you to hell. Freddy's ending is he's renowned and no one will ever forget his name. He's now able to travel everywhere in the world, so his nightmares are now going to be horrible for everyone. Next up, we have Ghostface from Scream. He's going to be a mix-up and a clone/shadow character, where he likes to put in a lot of shadow images to really mix up and confuse your opponent. His stage will be where Drew Barrymore definitely meets her end in the first movie. And his super move is just going to be the opponent actually answering the phone, and it says Ghostface. He shows up behind him and, takes him out. In the arcade ending, we decided to have a little fun with this one. You see him watching TV and seeing that he's now a global sensation. He's drinking beer, getting high, and he screams, "What's up?" Now here's the one that's probably the most confusing out of everyone, and probably the most powerful character on the roster, and that is Bill Cipher from Gravity Falls. Bill Cipher is going to be used a bunch of weird range setups and traps. I don't know a lot about this character, but from what everyone was telling me, he's going to be busted. His stage was going to be the Mystery Shack, and his super move would be called Eeny, Meeny, Miny, You, where he plays the piano, and it goes into your head, and everything goes dark. His arcade ending is he escapes Gravity Falls, and he spreads Weird Mageddon to the entire world. Don't say his name 3 times, but Beetlejuice is here. He's going to be a shape-shifting clone character that utilizes the rest of the roster's moves. His stage would be the Broadway or musical stage in the afterlife, and his super move will be called It's Showtime, where he just turns into the giant sandworm and eats you. For the arcade ending, he actually marries Lydia. He succeeds. He becomes married and now can go cause havoc wherever he wants. Next up, we have Shorty from Killer Clowns from Outer Space. I actually knew nothing about this character. I knew the movie, but I knew nothing about him, and we were able to get some cool information on him. He's going to be the boxer of the group, primarily using his fists, just like Belrog or Steve Fox or TJ Combo. His stage is going to be the Carnival. It's one of the most easy ones to do in this entire list. And his super move would be called Knock Your Block Off, where he puts everyone into cotton candy cocoons and then, knocks their block off. The arcade ending is absolutely awesome, where they just throw a giant acid pie towards Earth, pretty much destroying Earth and the clowns winning. Next up, we have Ash Williams from The Evil Dead. He's going to be a well-rounded character, not great at anything, but not bad at anything either. His stage will be the classic cabin within the movie, and his super move is This Is My Boomstick, where he turns into a deadite, chainsaws the opponent, then fires them with his boomstick. His arcade ending is him saving his sister and his girl, and pretty much defeating evil. That's it. He doesn't want evil anymore. He succeeded. Evil is now dead. The last character that I chose in the roster was Gengar from Pokemon. He's going to be a overall well-balanced character, and he's probably going to be very easy to use to make it like the beginner-friendly character. And also, he's one of the nicer characters in this roster, so like more kids would probably play him if it was real. He's going to have the ability to teleport, use shadow images, and also summon Ghastly and Haunter to help him out. His stage clearly would be Lavender Tower, which would be awesome because we'd get that sick-ass music. And his super move would be Gigantamax, where he uses hypnosis and eats your dreams. His arcade ending was actually really difficult, where we all agreed it's just Gengar wants to mess with people. Not hurt anyone, he just wants to always mess with people. So it's going to be a collage of him just goofing around and scaring people and then running away and doing it to other ones. And that's it, that's the roster. Don't get me wrong, there were some characters that were very close, like the Cookie Monster and the Michael J. Fox Teen Wolf, Lady Demiscu, or however you say her name from Resident Evil. There was a couple characters that were super close, but they just didn't get in. And also, I'm quite aware that there are a ton of other horror games out there that were very similar to this. Like Terradrome is a very obvious one that a lot of people were comparing this to, but it's a little bit different because I didn't want just horror characters. I let everything that was spooky in. But that's it. I don't know for sure yet if I'm going to do the very obvious one next, like that's coming up in December. I may do something different, and I know I'm going to do this again. So make sure you go follow me on TikTok, because the next creator roster, it will be coming soon. I'll talk to you guys later.